What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 47. This is the December 2020 episode. We're sitting down this morning with TCC President Rob Roach and VP of Sales AJ Petrarca. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, Ben.
Good morning, virtually. Unfortunately, back to the go-to meeting virtual podcast, but glad we were still able to get it scheduled and recorded here this morning.
I'm just happy to be doing it without a mask.
True.
Probably the prudent thing to do right now based on the status of the pandemic. So here we are. I'm here holding it down at the headquarters, and we've got skeleton staff here, but running seamlessly with everybody at home through our portals and networks and everything. Everything's running smooth and things are busy. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even if we weren't home due to the coronavirus, I think we might be home today due to the probably close to a foot of snow, I guess we got yesterday. It's officially winter time up here in New England. Tis the season, but obviously weather and travel is one thing, but logistics and supply chains and things like that coming in, out, and around of New England, it's definitely the time to keep an eye on your supply chains, understand where materials are coming from, and expect delays and throughout the winter season here.
I don't think that's going to get better in spring and summer, but it's prudent advice, Ben.
AJ really handles a lot of our customer base and supplier base up here in New England. I'm sure the snow's had a impact here this week for sure, and probably well into next week as well.
Yeah, we saw carriers using the storm as an excuse even before any snowflakes even flew. They said don't expect delivery. So it's been the forefront of the last week. Every conversation's been around the weather and everything else. Yeah, there's just a lot of factors right now.
Yeah, definitely been tight on the logistics front, and I think something that we've been trying to hammer home. I know our logistics team is always mentioning the keeping an eye on the weather, understanding what's coming. Even if you're not based in or around the direct New England area, if you have material coming into the ports of New York or somewhere else along the East Coast, you're still going to be affected by that. So it could lead to implications and delays well into the middle of the U.S. Even away from New England and away from the ports.
It's like some evil entity has control over 2020, and they were like, "Okay, they got a vaccination now. Bring in the blizzard." I was like, well, I'm really scared for the next couple of weeks. What the heck else could happen?
I'm just happy those murder hornets didn't turn into a thing. I'm glad that kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God. All the hurricanes we've had, and God, whoever's at the controls, we gotta find them. We gotta knock them off the controls, or maybe whoever's under the controls of 2021 will be better. I don't know, but jeez.
I sure hope so. I'm optimistic. Good. But definitely a good time to understand your supply chain, understand where materials coming from, bring in raw materials. I know a lot of companies are on the calendar year, so maybe a little bit more difficult to stock up on raw materials in December, but great time to understand your supply chain, talk to your suppliers, and be ready for extended lead times, both with raw materials coming in and finished goods going back out.
Supply chains are a tough thing to understand at the moment. That's for sure.
We've been predicting this for a couple months now, maybe even 6 months. So, I think that it's really coming to a head right now. We've got some critical situations throughout the supply chain and rising prices at every level. Fuel prices are rising, logistics costs are rising, raw material costs are rising, chemical costs are rising, ocean freight is rising and becoming less available. So, what we've been promoting, and with our security of supply campaign, it's become all that more prudent today. We're seeing massive delays in deliveries. We're seeing massive inavailability of products and huge price increases. So we think that's going to continue into 2021.
And I think the other half to the logistics challenges has obviously been driven up by higher demand, increasing demand. Seems like the economy is back up and running pretty well. Obviously, the stock market's high. We've seen a pretty big demand pickup here in Q4, and I think expect the same to continue into Q1 with plants continuing to run, demand picking up. Obviously, COVID's still an issue, but I think at this point, plants and production facilities are better equipped and more ready to handle it and won't be as severe of shutdowns as in March. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing with customers, but it seems like demand's definitely picked up, and we're expecting to stay at a high level as compared to where we were in March and April.
Yeah, seeing the same. I mean, demand's definitely up, and supply is challenging, right? So that puts everybody in a crunch. But I do see people, starting to get creative, and bulk customers bringing in packaged material to keep on the floor in case of delays. So people are starting to change the way they do things based on the situation we have, which is good. It's good to see people quickly and nimbly be making changes, and we obviously help them through that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's you've got we're coming through a period where inventories are critically low. I mean, most companies are under very tight controls in terms of what they keep in raw material inventory. And that's been sort of a trend in our industry, is to keep, your inventory, your on-hand inventory low, and depend on your suppliers to get you the products when you need it. And with, everything going on right now, that has compounded the situation, because you're correct, Ben, things are really picking up. We've heard from every level, coatings, adhesives, polymer, every level of our customer base, that they've got orders, full order books for months, 6 months even into 2021. They're full out at capacity. So so you're absolutely right. The demand has picked up. The supply chains are broken from 9 months of this virus, and inventories are critically low. And compound that again with some plant issues, fires, force majeures that we're seeing, and you've got a perfect storm.
Environmental regulations in China putting a crunch on everything in China right now. But it's kind of an interesting time, because usually this time of year everybody's trying to keep inventories low, but we have massive price increases on the table for Jan 1. So I think a lot of people are in a weird spot. Like, do you pre-buy to beat the increase, or do you keep the inventories low? I think a lot of people are wrestling with that right now.
One thing on the economy and economic update, I think we can put out to our podcast listeners first that we're hosting a presentation with an economist on January 7th. We're going to start putting out the word about that here probably next week, but reach out to your TCC sales contact. Happy to send over the link and invite. We're happy to host the economist and give a good overview on both the general economy and some of the industries that are most relevant to us and our supplier and customer base. So we're excited for that, and to get an update for 2021 here in early January.
We're looking forward to what he has to say. And again, all of our customers and suppliers, producing partners, are invited to this event. And with the tumultuous on many levels situations we're in, it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say.
I think one other thing to mention that continues to increase prices, affect demand. AJ, I know we've talked a bunch this week about the China tariff exemption that seems to be not renewing here coming in 2020, and will go back into effect 2021. I don't know if you want to give a quick overview on what that means, the background on that, and kind of what we've been telling customers here coming into the new year.
I'm no expert on it, but the China tariffs went into effect, and there was a period of time where folks could make a case on products they believe should be exempt for different reasons. So there was a list of exemptions that were not subject to the 25% tariff, and that list is set to expire on December 31st at midnight. So anything arriving after that point will go back to the 25% tariff. I think a lot of folks were operating under the impression that would be extended, as it has a couple times. So I think there was one extension in 2020. But I don't know. I think it should be extended, but it doesn't look like at this point it's going to. But we'll keep a close eye on that going forward.
Yeah, and hopefully something that eventually does get extended, as it, is obviously beneficial for customers, keeping pricing down. And obviously it was put in place once, and with the products that were under an exemption, hopefully that will get renewed here coming the New Year's. But we're, like you said, operating under the impression that it's not, and having to deal with the effects from there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate timing because we're already seeing massive increases on everything from China as it is, and then to tack on the 25% tariff on top of that, it's pretty major, for those products that are going to be not under exemption anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's a good transition right into kind of price updates and trends with what's going on. I think we're seeing Q1 price increases or January price increases pretty much across the board, kind of absent of industry product type. I mean, everything at least that we look at and deal with is increasing. Due to raw materials, due to logistics prices increasing, due to supply tightness. It's everything's going up. I don't know if I know, Rob, you sent a bunch of emails about that, and I know you're seeing similar things. What's the outlook on that here for January?
Yeah, it's a definite. I mean, it's not the type of thing where you have any control at all, or you can push back on it. The raw material costs are up. We did a analysis on freight from China. You mentioned a lot of different issues in China, but freight, typically is only a few cents from China. We were looking at freight rates of $8,400 the other day, which you're talking about a four-fold increase in the cost of freight. So something that was $1,200 is now $8,400. It's a tremendous amount of money for freight, and combine that with the environmental issues. You combine that with new regulations and really a new operating standard within China. It is what it is. But most of the increases that we're seeing are directly related to things like ethylene, propylene, benzene. All of these things are rising, and at the rate they're rising is becoming faster. They were rising through September, October, November, December. September, October, November in small amounts, and then a rapid increase through December. So also keep an eye on oil. We've seen oil come up to $48 a barrel. There's some that say it's going to go much higher. And again, that will trickle down into higher gasoline prices, therefore higher fuel surcharges in trucks, rail, ocean cargoes. And then you'd also have the freight issue. We sound like a broken record where we're talking about this happening. It's happening, and it's going to continue. So even this morning on our company-wide call, you still have to make the buying decisions. You can't stop and say, oh, the prices are too high, I don't want to buy anymore. Well, the fact is they're likely going to go higher. So if you don't want to have the raw material, then stop buying. But if you want the raw materials, you better buy. Lastly, I'm going to mention is currency. You look at the US dollar compared to foreign currencies, especially the euro. What does that mean when the euro is $1.22 to $1? It means that you get more value selling products in Europe, or if you're selling products outside of Europe in euros. So there's going to be less material coming to the US from Europe, but it gives us with a low dollar, it gives us a competitive advantage in selling our finished goods. So there is a positive to having our currency devalue. We have a stimulus coming up, and again, the stimulus will be on borrowed money. What happens when we get the stimulus and our deficit increases dramatically overnight? Is the value of our currency going to continue to deflate? These are all questions and serious issues that we're watching on a daily basis.
Yeah, when you boil it all down, it's quite the equation to figure out what's going on in the market, what the outlook is between, like you said, the currency piece, the raw material piece, the supply and demand, the logistics. So I think it's something that hopefully we provide value with the podcast, and it's something that we're happy to have conversations on a one-on-one basis with any of our sales agents. Taking that all into an equation or a formula and spitting out what that means for our customer security supply, when's a good time to buy, what the outlook is. So something that hopefully we're able to provide value with this podcast, and any one-on-one situations with customers we're more than happy to do.
yeah, we're still a small enough company that we can pivot. And if there's an opportunity to work with our customer base to secure today's pricing to arrive 6 to 8 weeks from now, that's something that we can do. So there's a lot of value we can bring as a company, not only sharing the information, but providing value for knowing your cost 8 weeks from now. And I think that's a safe bet in a lot of ways if it's available. Of course, you had a fire at LG in Korea, you have a force majeure at BASF in Europe. I mean, these are major issues that are impacting availability. So it's not to say that there will be availability, but some products there is that opportunity to hold your costs today and receive the goods later.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of products, featured products, new products, AJ and Rob, I'll let you kind of jump in with what we're really focusing on this month. I know we're kind of right peak winter time, so there's obviously some demand. I think with ice melt, windshield wash fluid, all that good stuff. Right here in December, what's new? What's some of the big products that we've really been talking about here in the last couple months and coming into New Year's?
I can speak to the more seasonal items. Glycols, we're coming up on antifreeze season, and glycols are very tight across the board, worldwide, pretty much. China's inventories are very low, which is kind of the basis for global pricing on glycols. So that's extremely tight coming into the winter. Methanol as well. That's I think the EU just settled up the equivalent of, what was it, over 40 cents a gallon, right? That was a pretty big increase in Europe. So we're expecting much higher costs here in the U.S. as well, which drives a lot of other products like formaldehyde, which goes into building materials. So we're going to see price increases throughout the whole chain of materials. Other than that, we're starting to talk ag season. So urea, also price trending up. As demand season approaches. Dicyandiamide prices are way up. That's one of the ones that was on the exemption list from China, which is now set to be off the exemption list after the end of this month here. But I think that's kind of the long. Am I missing anything on the seasonal products?
Glycols, how's glycols doing in price wise? Are they coming up in price? I know that there's availability issues.
Yeah, I mentioned glycols. They're super tight. Prices are up if you can get them. They're largely unavailable. MEG and DEG are pretty snug. TEG is still okay, but expect that to follow suit with the others and get tight as as the demand kicks in.
It's amazing to think that they were at some all-time low prices not too long ago.
Yeah, just earlier this year into last year. Things changed in a hurry.
I think my expertise might fall in maybe oxos and plasticizers, intermediates, and things like that. So starting with the oxos, you've got the fire at the LG plant in Korea. You've got the BASF force majeure, both of those I mentioned earlier. Hearing there's some domestic production issues. So you're seeing, and of course, propylene, 8 to 10 cent increase through December. So you're seeing extremely high prices and of course, the Dow Taft facility closing at the end of the year. So you're seeing a very tight lack of molecules available on 2EH. Butanol as well is tightening up as well, getting very tight in Asia. And again, with the BASF, FM, butanol, and the other oxos, including isononyl alcohol, getting very tight. This will trickle down, obviously, into the esters, especially the octyl, the 2EH esters. We've heard double digits, high double-digit increases coming into January. So watch out things like DOA, TOTM, DOTP. One of the things I've often tried to educate my customers on when it comes to DOTP is 2EH goes into DOTP, but it's a small piece compared to the other products out there that utilize this alcohol. So there's a competition for it. So we're expecting to see some extreme prices on 2EH. So you're going to see a real discrepancy or a real division between price of DIMP versus DOTP or other general purpose plasticizers if in fact the availability and price of DO2, or lack of availability in 2EH, and price goes up significantly compared to other oxo alcohols. Intermediates, and we're also seeing a hefty increase across the board on all plasticizers effective January 1. Intermediates, you're seeing things like benzene at 253 right now and moving up. This is a 50 cent a gallon increase. If we were to close today over what we saw in November, that equates to 5 cents a pound in things like adipic acid. Of course, it goes into styrene monomer. It goes into, so many other things. Benzene is up, as is other raw materials, so it's going to certainly affect those things. Orthoxylene is up. Phthalic anhydride prices are going to move up. So, we're seeing pretty much in a lot of intermediates the same type of price pressures, anywhere from 3 to 10 cents. And then in the oxo alcohols, 20, 25 cent a pound increases. So there's some big moves here. Want to mention that in 2021 we'll be offering HMD from Invista, hexamethylene diamine. We have our own facilities to handle the rail cars and transload, and also to break it down with deionized water. So we'll have a bulk and package to that in 2021. It's going to be interesting. It's going to continue to be interesting. And I could go on and on. We could break it down to product by product, Benny, but I think the general consensus is everything's up.
Yeah, I think along the same lines, talking products, we got a lot of exciting things coming for 2021. The H&D is one, like you said, and then expanding our product lines with some of our core suppliers. AJ managing the Elator CH from Evonik, the Pevelin from Perstorp. Some major suppliers in the industry and products that we're excited to take what we're already selling with them and do more with these suppliers and really grow our relationship with them. So excited to bring some of these products, not necessarily new to the market, but new to the States and to our relationship with them, and excited to be able to offer them alongside some of our long-term supplier partners coming in next year.
Yeah, 2021 we'll also have samples available for a new product from Evonik called dipentyl terephthalate. I think we mentioned this before. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming out. A lot of very interesting products that have a green backbone to them, which is interesting, like the Pevelin Pro, which comes from renewable resources, and it's a very interesting product, and you can get carbon credits and things like that. So yeah, really interesting to see. And very proud of our industry for how they stepped up in the pandemic, and the science behind the vaccine. Congratulations to everybody. 9 months into a pandemic, and we've got two vaccines on the market, and we haven't even talked about the pandemic and what issues that continues to bring and will continue to bring into 2021. So lots to talk about, lots of things happening, Ben.
Absolutely. Excited to continue bringing those to market here next year, and obviously, some breaking news, some highlights on some new products here on the podcast. So obviously appreciate you listening and get the inside scoop on what's going on at TCC. Both our products and product lines, as well as our kind of outlook on the market and views on what's happening. So appreciate you listening for sure. Trade shows, conferences, still kind of TBD for next year. I know we've seen AFPM get moved out to May versus where it typically is at the end of March down in San Antonio. So we're optimistic and hopeful we can go to that in some format of normalcy. We'll see what the world looks like at that point. Do have one show coming up. The Plastics Organization is putting on a virtual flexible vinyl compounders conference on February 3rd. We do a lot with the plastics group, and TCC will be a conference sponsor for that virtual event on the 3rd. Should be I think it's an afternoon, maybe 4 or 5 sessions for a couple hours. They do a great overview on the economy and the markets, on what's new and happening in that flexible vinyl space. So that'll be a great show, and might not be the in-person event that everyone's kind of missing, but be nice to maybe spend a couple hours at one of these events online and hear what's going on in the market. Excited to get back to at least having something on the trade show schedule. Normally myself and AJ, spearheading and attending a lot of these shows. So I'm miss traveling, miss getting out there, and excited to get back to some sort of normalcy here. Whether it's middle 2021, end of 2021, excited to be back at some shows and do some traveling and maybe mix in a little golf, but we won't tell Rob that.
Yeah, the
well,
plastics group do a good job with their location selection. I'm gonna miss that show again this year.
It's the in-person is still scheduled for, I think it's July 11th. I believe it's mid-July in Georgia. That's when it's supposed to be going on. We chose to do this virtual event as well, kind of in addition to that. I think it's something that they'll do on an ongoing basis, but it is July 11th, so we'll see if that happens in person. If this vaccine picks up like it does and really gets out there in Q1, there's maybe a chance. I've never been to Savannah, Georgia, so I'm optimistic and hopeful we can get down there in July, but I guess we'll see.
The vaccines is a topic on its own. It's interesting. I was talking to one of our logistics providers the other day, and he was telling me how he was on the Ticketmaster website, trying to buy concert tickets for summer. And, he got a notice from Ticketmaster that he would need to provide some sort of proof that he had been vaccinated in order to attend the concert. So that to me was the first time that I've heard how exactly this vaccination will be enforced, let's say. It's going to be not a, government enforcement. It's going to be a public enforcement. And which is interesting because you mentioned you want to travel and AJ wants to travel. Well, there may be people that just don't want to participate in the vaccination. Well, then you probably won't be able to attend shows or concerts or travel on planes or, trains or foreign countries. So, it's very interesting how I heard that about Ticketmaster and how, it is your own personal thing, your health, whether you want to take a vaccination or not. But this is a health and public safety type of situation. So it can be enforced by, a private entity like Ticketmaster or something like that. So I thought that was very interesting. And also one other prediction I want to make is that I think there will be more vaccinations available to the 2A, B, 3A, B, the lower level, because even right now they're starting to say that people aren't necessarily taking the vaccination. So there needs to be confidence built in the vaccination. So I think that if people want the vaccination, they're going to get it probably earlier than they probably thought. And keep in mind too that both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccination is a double it's a double shot. So you've got a couple weeks between the shots, so you don't have instantaneous immunity. It takes time to build. So, but I'm very hopeful for the sake of humanity and for the sake of the people that are suffering and dying out there right now, that this vaccine and the implementation of it is very successful. So hopeful and optimistic on that.
And there's a lot of good points because obviously we're in an industry that is very face-to-face. It's very personable. It's very relationship-driven, whether it's traveling to go see customers, flying and traveling to go to conferences and trade shows. I mean, it's something I watch. I mean, maybe trade shows will require you to have a vaccine before you enter the show. Maybe customer plants, you go try to see a customer and they won't let you in the plant if you don't have proof of the vaccine. I mean, it's all TBD to see what this stuff all looks like. And in an industry like ours, which there's a lot of conferences, a lot of trade shows, it's a lot of in-person meetings versus emails and phone calls and webinars and all that stuff. Something to keep an eye on, especially with our industry. I think skews a little bit older in terms of demographics. The people that are in the industry, the salespeople, the purchasing people, compared to some other industries, skews a little bit older, which obviously puts a lot more people in that higher risk category. So something to see and watch develop, I think, early next year.
It's unfolding in front of our eyes right now, Ben.
Sure is. But I guess wrapping things up, some inside news. Obviously, we're all back working from home for at least a little while. We'll revisit after the new year and excited to get back in person with everybody, but keeping an eye on that. And I know we had some news from our regulatory specialist this morning as well.
Yep. Alex Rill got engaged. That's fantastic.
Some good news there. No babies to report the last month or two. We've been on a baby streak for the summertime, but babies have quieted down. But now we're on to engagements. So A lot of exciting things happening, I think, in 2020, aside from all the negative.
Absolutely. It's nice to see people having progressing in their lives. And we've got a lot of young babies in the organization right now, a lot of cute pictures flying around. Really nice to see.
But I guess that wraps it up for this episode, and I guess for 2020 as a whole. We'll record the next one here in a couple weeks, come January. But any other final thoughts to wrap up the episode or wrap up 2020?
Congrats to you, Ben. What number webisode is this?
47.
It's unbelievable. This is something that was your baby in the beginning, and you've been in it throughout. And congrats to you, and special thanks to all of our customers out there and producing partners for another successful 2021, another successful year for TCC. We couldn't do it without you and your support, and we appreciate it, and really excited coming into 2021. TCC has the best team we've ever had before in place. We've got excellent relationships with our producing partners, and we're doing everything we can to secure the supply chain for our customer base to the best of our abilities. So thanks to everybody for working with us throughout a very difficult year, and really just blessings to everybody. Hope that you're healthy and safe now and in the future, and let's remain optimistic that we get through this year and the pandemic and come out a better human race. And thank you.
AJ, I'm not sure you can top that sign off.
I can't follow that up, Rob. That was great.
You can top that, AJ. Come on.
No, but in all seriousness, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying doing the podcast, and it's hopefully provided some value to our suppliers and customers. Looking forward to continue to grow it, have some more of our producing partners and supplier partners on as guest speakers and guests in the new year. Excited to keep it going. Appreciate your guys' time. Always good sitting down talking to you guys, and I guess we will see you guys and all of our listeners here in the new year.
Appreciate it, man.
Sounds good. Thank you.